Hey everybody, we're back in Mega Studio 5 again today, and just doing more of what I was hoping to do that I told you guys about in previous videos, of just releasing more videos of just me drawing, and yeah, hopefully you guys dig it, all that cool stuff. So I'll say right at the beginning, what you saw me doing right there was I scanned in my normal thumbnails like usual. This isn't nothing new, and what I've been trying to get into, like I said in the previous video, is moving the panels around and just, experimenting a little bit more that way. So, as you can see, I just broke up the panels a little bit just not having them straight across all the time. Just trying to, again, break out of that, see how it goes. And it's probably not the best idea to be doing that in a client project. The last thing that I want to happen is to have varying styles throughout the book, but art quality aside, when you start moving panels around and they start getting a little nuts, it may look like a different book altogether. So you got to be careful about that. And I haven't heard too many or anything really from my editors regarding that, so I guess it's going pretty good. So yeah. The tight pencils, I should say, in this stage here, they are still loose. Haven't been going too nuts with them at all. I do it like I would normally use pencils there, just gesture in where the character would be, and then roughly put cylinders and ellipses just to show where the character is being pushed in and pulled out of space, so that you can have somebody like folding. Like in this case, his upper torso is kind of leaning forward, whereas opposed to the hips are leaning in the opposite direction there. And then after that, just use the eraser. And like I said, I should make a video. If you guys want it, just let me know in the comments below. Just going over some of the settings I'm using for the pencil tool here and the eraser. I believe the eraser's default. It's just like an airbrush with pressure sensitivity turned on. That way it feels much more like a kneadable eraser, and then I can just build it over, in volume like you saw right there. So adding in the anatomy and like the clothing and stuff. So this shot ended up being a little bit different. I had his face way tilted down, and I wanted to bring it up just a little bit. It would have been cool in the original thumbnail that I had, casting his face in shadow and stuff like that, but I just wanted to show a little bit more. And as you can see right there, that head, the perspective that it was at, would not have worked on that body. So because of this choice, I've had to remake the pose altogether. And it's kind of cool, show a little bit more of his anatomy and stuff like that. And this panel here gets a little bit crazier. There's going to be a hand in the extreme foreground of somebody else that's in the room that's comforting the character, and they're just going to have his hand right on there. And you'll see how I like to work in something like that when something is like extreme foreshortened. I like to have something that's like a ground. And by ground, I mean everything goes to it. So as you can see here, I will change it because that hand is pretty big. But I started with the hand and then drew cylinders coming out of it and then put anatomy over top of it. And what that does, as opposed to going from like your shoulder to the bicep, forearm to the hand, I know where the hand is hitting something solid, so it can only be at a certain spot, and everything else can build out of that. And so there you go. You can see I'm just trying to, again, break up the panels a little bit more, get out of the box shape. I'm not sure how this will turn out once I get into the inking stage, but we'll see when we get there. I should have a video probably tomorrow addressing one of these or a few of these panels. I'll just record just inking, and we'll see how it goes. See how far these get a little different from each other, from the pencils to the actual inks. And yeah, I think right here, yeah, so I started to adjust the hand, and I just kind of throw in the rest of the anatomy in there. That top part, I added a tricep, which shouldn't have been there. That's what it looks like. It is supposed to be a shoulder. So this whole top part right at the top of your screen there is going to get erased and covered in shadow. I skip the third panel there because I didn't like the way it was, and I do this sometimes where I'll jump around in the panel. This face stuff, if it's just a face, it's easier to do. I don't have to think about it too much. But that third panel that I skipped, I don't like the perspective on it. I don't like the way it is. So you'll see I'm actually going to totally change that panel. The other guy that's in the room has his hand on the main character's shoulder, kind of comforting him, and he's supposed to smack it away, and I didn't feel like it showed it enough. And the other thing too was there wasn't really anything dynamic in this page. It is just people talking. Not, you don't always have speed lines and explosions on every page, but if you can, depending on the tone of your story, could be could make or break it, to be honest. And here again, just shading in where I would like to have the shadow be. And much of this will change as well once we get into actual inking and rendering and all that fun stuff. But it's cool to have this here. That way when I go into ink, I know what I was thinking during the pencil stage. And hopefully I can remember it all. Excuse me. And here, just a classic silhouette shape, just to really set this character all alone. And I'm going to do some framing here with the monitors, the computer monitors, our heart rate monitor right behind his head. That way it frames his head into the actual shot. Your eye will immediately be drawn to it because of his face breaking such a perfect shape. So a perfect square where his face would be, or behind his face, is contrasts where his actual face would be. So it's a different shape, and you're stacking white on black, so you'll have the white monitor, and he's in silhouette, so it pops. It pops pretty quick. And this one here, I change a bit as well. Again, I try to throw a little bit more dynamics in there, so I'll tilt it towards the end. In the extreme foreground, we have the guy on the bed, and that's his head and his ear. That's actually going to get blown up and made even bigger because this guy got big. And what I'm struggling with is I had misread the script at this point. His hand was kind of like gesturing, oh, look, this guy's coming in the room. And after I reread the script, the guy just walks in on his own. So it doesn't make much sense to have this character introduce that guy. So we'll erase it, and we just kind of give him the old superhero pose with both hands on the hips. Flipping it, again, I talk about this all the time just to keep it fresh. I didn't flip it as much as I thought I had done in this video. That S, I don't know if I change it here, but it's not bent enough. We'll worry about that when we get to inking, if little things we do miss when we're doing our pencils. And here I'm just gesturing in where that character is coming in from the background. And what I do here is I'm just making up a perspective. I'm pretending that this is a one-point perspective. You can see the character is actually pointing in the direction. All the lines are vanishing down to a vanishing point that's back there. So here, again, changing the arm. You saw what I did. It's the same thing I did in the second panel, where I draw the hand on the hip because the hand has to be on the hip. Has to be on the hip. From there, I can build my forearm and the bicep that goes into the shoulder. I can build all that information because all those things are affected based on where your hands are. And again, here, same old stuff, just building this character. I have him lined up with the perspective of the character that we'd already drawn on the right. So I'm lining up roughly, I'm not keeping it precise, where his chest and his head and all that fun stuff will be. Changing his head, seeing where it would go. And there we go. So the extreme foreground, I'm going to have an ear and then maybe some more black to help frame the image there. So here we go into this one. This one I did not like. It wasn't, I want to say dynamic enough, but you'll see where I end up going with this shot. He's lying in bed again. Somebody's like comforting him on his shoulder, and he's like, "Don't touch me," don't touch me. That expression and that feeling isn't really being told here, and I don't want it just to be told in dialogue. I would like it to have some expression to it. Really quickly, yeah, so to make the page even a little bit more dynamic, all I did with the last panel there was just tilted it. So it's not the vertical line on the the vertical line on the horizon isn't up and down. It's tilted a bit, just to give it a little, a little extra pop. So here we go. I actually nailed, in my opinion, for what I was looking for, the character that's saying, "Don't touch me" on the right there. And he becomes the focal point, so it's a one-point perspective going to him. And now the camera's way at the end of the bed. You can kind of see on the left, it's like a giant tube. And on the right, there you go. What I'm doing is I'm putting in his feet. They're popping out from underneath the blankets. And what's happening here is I'm starting to work in everything else, but it's getting busy as F. So I just change everything to blue. That way I could look at it clean again and get back in there with the pencils. And again, just building this guy up. His body's a little out of shape here. I gave him a little bit bigger of a tummy and like no neck at all. He's just like a sausage neck and a sausage head. So I'm erasing it there and just making it a little bit better and trying to knock him forward a bit. I had to make him bigger, and at first this is probably something you don't want to do, but I broke the panel just to have him look like he's getting knocked forward. What I maybe should have done is the guy right here that I'm drawing the arm, he maybe should have been just shrunk, just to fit it in. But either way, it's looking like it's working. So I'm trying to get that twist in the body. And I'm not sold on that sleeve just yet, but we'll work on it. And again on the face. Now the face wasn't working for me, and what it was actually the nose. I had the nose in the wrong angle. I wasn't showing underneath the nostril, and it actually makes a big difference. And I'm going to have speed lines and a little smack where his hand is. Hopefully that sells it a little bit better. And this is a much more dynamic shot than what we had before, and it helps, in my opinion, just give the page a little bit of pop, a little bit of action for something that, you know, it's an emotional scene. This guy is a superhero, and he's in, you know, in a hospital bed, which isn't, you know, somewhere where I don't think he'd like to be. And I don't know if I actually go into the background and worry about that with the 1-point perspective. But no, it looks like, okay, I'm just going to start drawing some other stuff here. I get worried about the blanket. Oh, okay, and then we're getting into the details of the skunk here. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll talk to you next video. Bye.